Well, I love being in Sweden. I've been working here on and off now for about maybe 6 or 7 years. And part of what has brought me here is working with a close friend, Jorn Genvi, and we've been developing a series of wilderness retreats, especially up in the Sami country of central Sweden near the little town of Ore, where a lot of skiing takes place. And so I've combined that with also being invited several times to participate in the Tallberg Forum. And the combination of those two things has brought me here over the years. I was very lucky in having grandparents and a mom and dad who were very supportive in an early passion, which was to go into nature. I called it the real church when I was a kid. And I didn't know about things like Vision Quest in those days, but I said I really want to go out and spend some time alone in the real church. And as that turned out to be I think it was a 4 or 5 day and night immersion in a wild place in the White Mountains of New Hampshire, where my family lived and where I was raised in the summer months of the year. So I took a deep dive into that connection to nature, and also when you make that kind of connection in solitude, you also receive a tremendous initiation into the essence of your own nature. So nature, of course, exists both externally and internally. It's a beautiful word because it encompasses both outer nature and inner nature. So I began to discover an essence inside of myself which seemed to be a kind of more basic, fundamental place where real joy and happiness lay, and in the stillness and the silence of being in outer nature. Inner nature was revealed. Part of my family had some roots in Native American way, and even though we lost most of the contact with those roots, they were very much there when I was a kid growing up with my grandparents. It was very, very present. We used to call my grandfather the chief. But one thing that I remember is that he explained to me that in the Native American way, every young person sometime between the age of 12 and 18 or 20 would go out into nature and be alone and go into, who am I? Why am I here? What is the purpose of this life? And these very core questions, what's life all about? And so they would, in a sense, cry out for the vision of these very deep universal truths. And usually they would receive some form of answer. And based on the answer, that gave them the path for their life. They often were given a name that fit the path that they would take in this lifetime. And so they entered a life that was inspired by this very deep connection with the essence of themselves. And that was the rite of passage, which really set them on the path which was generated from within. So you didn't find problems of disconnected youth. They'd made the connection. They were able to come forward with an authentic beingness, which the culture then honored. They were welcomed back from their vision quest, usually as adults. So at that point, they were brought back into society, having been through that rite of passage as a full-fledged adult with all the rights and responsibilities of adulthood at that point. So they didn't have the kinds of problems we have today. We don't have very good rites of passage. And we have, today it's, fast cars, motorcycles, drugs, sex, and rock and roll. Not to say that those things are bad, but they're based on kind of intense experience. It's seeking to have strong experiences. And a vision quest is a very powerful, very strong experience, but it's an experience of diving deeply into the essence of yourself and your own core truth. And so when you come back out from that, of course, you're totally transformed. And I think that young people are yearning for that today. It seems to me that we need to have new standards of what life is all about. If we base it upon conventional and materialistic standards, I'm not sure we'll ever really accomplish true happiness. In a lot of the core teachings, spiritual teachings of Taoism or Buddhism or Native American way, you learn to appreciate life as a fantastic, spontaneous, joyful flow, something that is there to give happiness. And you begin to realize that you can follow a path of resting in that innate happiness or joy that comes with just the gift of life itself. And then you don't need a lot of the material support so much. I mean, sure, you need basics like food, good clean water, clean air, good friends, good community. These are important. But the actual basics, we have more than enough to be able to provide that on this planet. When it comes down to the things that truly provide happiness, that really comes from the cultivation of this connection with the basic experience of life itself and really appreciating that. So it comes from delving deeply into who you really are, what you're here for, what life is all about. And as the Taoists say, it's really about being happy, enjoying the basic joy of life. And we don't have much training about discovering the fundamental joy of being alive. If we had that, we wouldn't be quite so clingy about all the things we think we need to be happy. For me, mindfulness, if you look at the word, it's the mind being full. But what kind of mind? To me, that's the mind of the real mind, the true mind, which is the true nature, which is the true fundamental basic consciousness or awareness that underlies the base of all form and all existence. And of course, each one of us shares that in common. There's not a single one of us as individual humans or plants and birds and animals all share the same fundamental base. So it's an opportunity to connect with that base, pure awareness or pure consciousness at a fundamental level, and to learn how to, in a sense, train the mind to really rest in that. So mindfulness is allowing the mind to rest in the experience of being completely present and relaxed with what's arising in the now, in the field of pure awareness. So whatever form aspect is arising has come out as a pure creation of the moment, a unique creation that will never happen again and never has happened before. And when you realize that, you're truly mindful. So I think it's a beautiful idea, Mindhouse, that which houses the awareness, that which houses consciousness, that which houses the mind in the big sense of the mind. That's a rare thing. It's great. So in that spirit, if we are able to take an opportunity like you're providing here to explore the different pathways and principles that allow us to begin to deepen into a connection or a recognition of our basic true being, then you can begin to practice bringing that back into the city and into the office and back with family and loved ones. But it's easier to start in a beautiful, inspiring, natural place that has some very special qualities.